Hello everyone, my name is Venkat Raman Patnaik. I am 9 years old, studying in grade 5 as a homeschooler under Cambridge board. I registered my first Android app at the age of 6. I also had earned 2 India Book of Records, one for creating a gas leakage safety device and for qualifying Microsoft Technology Associate MTA exams in 5 languages: Java, JavaScript, Python, database and HTML and CSS. So, I got the passion about the space science, space technology when I was 6 years old, and I was watching the Chandrayaan 2 Vikram lander trying to land on the moon. Unfortunately, it crash landed. Then I pursued my interest, and then I became a citizen scientist by NASA at the age of 8, as I participated the asteroid hunt campaign organized by Isaac and NASA. And I also got a little bit about space related education from Young Tinker Academy. So, the ground observatories don't give a clear image of space objects, as the Earth's atmosphere blocks most of the light from the sun. This makes it less efficient since the images are not being clear of the space object. As a result, scientists were finding it difficult to study more accurately of the space objects. This is when American scientists worked to build the first space telescope, the OAO2. It was launched in 1968 by NASA, and it gave a much clearer range, visibility and a more clear image than the ground observatories could. So what kind of data do we receive from space telescopes? The space telescope captures images of space objects like stars, galaxies, planets, black holes, etc. Then it is sent to the ground station via an antenna. So what is the use of the data we receive from space telescopes? The data we receive from space telescopes is then given a deeper study. Let me explain. For example, the ground station receives an image of a star. Then it is studied deeply, like about its age, about its brightness, then does it have any planets, what is its orbit, does it have moons, asteroids, etc. So, I will explain you about a few models of space telescopes I have made. This is the Hubble Space Telescope. It was launched in April 1990 by NASA and the European Space Agency. This is the James Webb Space Telescope. It was launched in 25th of December 2021 by NASA, the Canadian Space Agency CSA and the European Space Agency ESA. So it has a primary mirror which is basically made up of 18 golden plated hexagon tiles, and the total width is 6.5 meters or 21.3 feet. It has a secondary mirror which is just to filter the light or the images of the primary mirror. Then it has a 70-foot wide sun shield which helps it protect from the harsh radiation of the sun. It has an electronics box where it stores all the electronic components and equipment it needs. It also has solar panels to keep the electronics charged and an antenna which will transmit and receive signals from Earth. So, as you can feel that the James Webb is a gigantic structure which has to be launched into space, it needs a powerful heavy lift launch vehicle or a powerful rocket basically to launch it up into space, which also will have a powerful engine to function, right? This is where the field systems of a rocket engine come into play. The field systems of a rocket engine are in 4 types: the open cycle, the pressure fed, the closed cycle and the full flow cycle. Now the Ariane 5 rocket, the rocket that launched the James Webb Space Telescope, uses the Vulcan engines, which is an open cycle system. So the open cycle works with a turbo pump, with the use of a turbo pump, and the turbo pump has a few main parts, including a mini rocket engine called the pre-burner, then a turbine connected to a shaft, then pumps that push the propellant into the combustion chamber. Now, we can understand that a rocket engine produces so much pressure and so much heat it needs to withstand, right? But how do rocket engines survive such high heat load? Well, this is where engine cooling comes into play. There are 5 types of engine cooling systems. They are the heat sink cooling, the ablative cooling, regenerative cooling, film cooling and radiative cooling. Now, the Vulcan engines have been upgraded for the Ariane 5 in 2005 for the Vulcan 2. Now, the Vulcan 2 uses regenerative cooling and film cooling as well. So, let us talk about them. Regenerative cooling is the most common but the most efficient and effective ways of cooling a rocket engine. Here in this cooling system, the method entails flowing some or all the propellant through the walls of the combustion chamber, then into the nozzle and before going through the injectors and being ignited. This is what makes it efficient, being used before being ignited. The next part is film cooling. Here in film cooling, there is a fluid injected between the nozzle surface and the hot combustion gas. The fluid acts as a thermal layer and helps protect the nozzle and giving it some time to cool. Now, as I said fluid, which means it can be done with liquid or gaseous propellants. Okay, so after discussing about all this, I want to talk about the full cycle from launch to its orbital insertion of the James Webb Space Telescope. So, it all starts from the launch date of the Ariane rocket. So, now as the timer hits T0, the solid rocket boosters ignite. These boosters are using solid fuel. One thing to note, once you fire them, you cannot stop them. So, it's just on and then it's gone. So, once the solid fuel is ignited, it takes it all the way to the max Q, that is the maximum dynamic pressure point on the rocket's nose. This is where it starts to decelerate, but the solid fuel has run out and what is left is the structure of the booster, which is basically dead weight. So, will remove them, right? So after staging, which means it is jettisoned, we have the liquid core stage, which will take it past the Kármán line or 100 kilometers above the earth, which is the agreed way of calling space. Then once the liquid fuel runs out, that is the fuel and the oxidizer both have run out, we jettison the core stage and fire the vacuum optimized Vulcan engines. That's right, there is a vacuum optimized version of the engine which is only in use for the vacuum of space. Now we won't go all the science of vacuum optimized engines in this talk, but let's continue. So the the second stage will take it well past the geostationary orbit. This is the maximum range it can reach. 6 hours and 11 minutes after the launch, the James Webb's the Ariane 5's rocket's second stage is jettisoned and the James Webb is on its own. Luckily, James Webb is having thrusters which will help it propel or maneuver in all directions. The James Webb fires its thrusters and points it towards its orbit of the Sun. That's right, it orbits around the Lagrange 2 orbit of the Sun, which is orbit of the Sun behind the Moon. So it will go past the lunar orbit and then reach the solar orbit. On January 24th, 2022, the James Webb reached its orbital insertion on the Lagrange 2 orbit, and currently the James Webb is on the deployment stage, which means it will be unfolded and tested. Okay, so the key takeaway here is that we will take the James Webb as an inspiration, use its technologies to build a better space telescope or a better device at least, which will help solve our problems in agriculture, climate change, food restoring, and also scientists are working hard to find a backup planet or any planet that has alien life and etc. So that's all from my side, but if you're wondering, before I end, if you're wondering why I'm speaking about all this stuff, this is because space science is my favorite subject, and as we know, the world needs creators and problem solvers. So I want to be an entrepreneur in the field of space science and technology, and I am currently learning computer programming and space science and space technology, which will help me achieve my goal very soon. Thank you.